phone. If you can't see it, that's fine. You can also go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and you have a code 4985-1989. I see some people scanning that QR code, so that's perfectly fine. Give everybody a minute to continue scanning. And so while we're getting started, I just wanted to recognize that we have quite a few guests in our audience today. We have Mike Zintek, the tech stop, back in the back. So if you have any questions about the North Houston Highway Improvement Project, he's got maps that I'm sure he has already passed out for you. So if you want to talk about that or ask him questions, he will talk your ear off about the North Houston Highway Improvement Project, which is fantastic. We have Frank from Sylvia Garcia's office, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. We have Aaron Gonzalez from Carol Alvarado's office, Juan Pablo with District I, and our council member is coming. He's coming to another event, so we're going to give him a few minutes. We also have Rodrigo. I saw Rodrigo coming in, signing in. Sorry about that. Rodrigo's from Julian Ramirez's office, and he's here right now. We have Marina Guerra from Christina Morales' office here today. We also have a couple representatives from the East End District, so they'll be hanging out here just listening in and seeing what's important to our residents. So as we go, getting started here, we have this meeting is going to contain some topics where passions can run really high, and we want to make sure that we are giving everybody an opportunity to provide input. And so there are going to be 4 times to be able to provide input. So at the back, Scott has note cards. If you're uncomfortable speaking on a microphone, go grab a note card, because we'll be glad to hand those out and try to answer those questions with you. We're going to have an interactive poll online. So we're going to be able to go through this. You'll be able to see everything from here, and it's going to be really fun, I promise. And if you're uncomfortable with the interactive poll and doing these things, I got a paper form for you. Don't worry, I got you covered. We're also going to have multiple times when there's public comments and questions and time for questions. So, but we are going to end on time, and so what we're going to do here is so everybody can participate and everybody can we can participate meaningfully. We want to support productive dialogue. We have these meeting agreements, which is something our super neighborhood has been doing. And so we want to assume positive intent. We want to speak with respect. We want to be critical of the problem and not the person. We want to ponder what we hear and feel before we speak. We want to trust ambiguity and be mindful of time, because we do have a lot to cover. Now, I'm thinking about that, is there anything anybody would like to add to this in terms of meeting agreements and holding a productive dialogue together? So we are going to move on. So we're going to cover the agenda today. So doing our welcome and introductions now. So if y'all have not seen me before, my name is Lindsay Williams. Oh, we have Councilwoman Alcorn who's joined us, and Councilmember Martinez is here. We're going to get a more formal intro in just a minute. But I'm Lindsay Williams. I'm president of the Super Neighborhood 6488, which is Greater Eastwood, Lawndale, and Wayside. And while we do have boundaries technically as part of the Super Neighborhood, our main focus is more around the betterment of the East End in general, and we really support our neighbors. So that's why we're really open to 3rd Ward, we're open to 5th Ward, 2nd Ward, and just making sure we're having productive conversations across the board. We also have several of our Super Neighborhood Board members in the room. If y'all just want to raise your hands if you are a Super Neighborhood Board member. If you have any questions, you are welcome to talk to any one of the board members out here. They'll be able to help you along the way. So we're going through our community agreements, we're going through our agenda now. So we're going to have Councilmember Martinez. He's going to have only a few minutes to do some of these things, but we're going to go through some updates, so project updates and timelines, Telephone Road, GRB expansion, Wolf Street closure, the two-way Leland solution, pedestrian bicycle connections, grade separations and quiet zones, which I know is a mouthful, but we'll get there. Then we're going to pause for just a minute, see if anybody has any questions about those. We're going to give everybody a minute to ask a question. And then we're going to come back to have Councilmember Martinez present the Memorandum of Understanding, which will explain what that is, what the benefit is to the community. And then we'll have people from Polk wants to talk about some opportunities for implementation on the MOU as we move forward. And then we're going to have questions. So if you have questions about that, we'll be able to go through there. And then we're going to have, this is where we're going to have fun. We're going to have an interactive poll where we gather feedback from you. And we're going to be sending the results So once we have all of this compiled and put together, we're going to send it to everybody. Then we're going to have time for open comments. Remember I said you're going to get a lot of opportunity to share your feedback. So we're going to have open comments, then we'll adjourn from there. So if we are ready to go, when you're ready, let's roll. So this one's mine. If you want to, you can actually walk.
I'll stand with you.
That's fine.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving with family, and this cold weather is giving everybody a good holiday spirit as well. For those that might not know, my name is Joaquin Martinez. I don't want to assume that you know, but I'm your city council member for District I. We're in District H, so I want to acknowledge, although he's not here, and I don't think we have a staff member here, but we're in Mario Castillo's district, and I think there's some of his constituents as well. And you did recognize my colleague, Sally Alcorn, but there's a few other folks that I think are important that you know are here. We have a representative from TxDOT. We have a representative from Councilmember Ramirez's office. We have a representative from Congresswoman Garcia's office, Senator Alvarado's office, Representative Morales' office. And I hope I got everybody. That I missed someone from another office. Perfect. Okay, we'll get started. This meeting came about, I think we were at a tree planting a few weeks back with Clay. They're at MC Cullinan Park by now Navarro Middle School. And Lindsay was asking about some of the different things that are going on, because I think there's definitely a lot going on coming into downtown. Whether it's right at Chartres or there were some, closures at Leland, closures outside of the scope of work from, I know some of the big conversations Polk, but I wanted to make sure that, and I appreciate Lindsay giving me the opportunity to also bring some clarity first and foremost, but then there's also questions about some specific projects in District I. So if, I know, just because you don't live in District I does not mean that you're not going to be impacted, so I want to make sure that those are in District H and in District D. Hence, and I'll speak more to it on the MOU, why I thought it was important to make sure that we included those constituents as well. So the first one is Telephone Road, and quick updates I'm going to read so that way I don't miss anything, and we can go through it as quickly as possible if you have questions. So Telephone Road is Lockwood to Lawndale. Currently it's at 60% design, with design to be completed summer of 2026. And planning development ongoing. So construction, we're looking at it to begin fall of 2026. And this is coordinated with the city on project progress. It's also coordinated with sub-consultants, conducted kickoff meetings as well will happen. Telephone Road project in this stretch is a 12-gate Harrisburg TERS project. Some of y'all were at some of those meetings. We'll continue to make sure that the TERS stays engaged in the process. Normally, throughout any construction project, there's construction update meetings. As a staffer, formerly, I would go to many of these, whether they're public works, TERS, management district meetings. I think it's important for you all to also get that information, but you'll be able to lean into my office to make sure that we're giving you updates as well. Now to the George R. Brown expansion. So Polk Street closure and 2A Leland. So Polk Street is currently closed to vehicular traffic between Chartres and Avenida de las Americas. As of November 21st, the sidewalk of Polk has been reopened to accommodate pedestrian and bicycle traffic. I definitely want to pause there just to highlight that this was something that was not in the initial agreement, but it's something that we're continuing to make sure through my office can advocate it with Houston First and of course Public Works. So this closure is permitted through Public Works with standard traffic control plans in place. Motorists accessing downtown destinations from northbound I-59 are encouraged to exit West Gray and take Peace Street or St. Joseph Parkway into downtown. Motorists traveling into downtown from East Downtown or East End are encouraged to take Peace Street or St. Joseph or now Leland as well. Leland is open, and you can now take your normal route on Bell. There are some on-street parking signs that were there, and so sometimes it makes that two-lane traffic, which is open, into a one-lane. And I've been having these conversations with Houston First, who's handling the traffic plan. but we're going to be reaching out to Public Works to make sure that those on-street parking signs are, for the moment that that section is open, to make sure that we get rid of on-street parking on Bell. So the work taking place, or has taken place around Polk in the coming months. The demolition of the GRB ramp over Polk Street began November 10th. Demolition of the current rustic location we're looking at sometime early this year. The water line utility work, Avenida South Garage electrical work, GRB Skybridge demolition will happen also around the early part of the year. Avenida South Garage demolition will also happen. There's a precast garage erection begins towards the end of this month, and then precast erection will be completed. This is for the new garage mid-February. The JRC specifics. So council voted in October was the first step in the abandonment process. What that allowed Houston First to do is to get the appraisal and surveys and permits needed, but also begin utility work. And so they're currently doing utility work. They're along several of those streets. So I think some of the things that have been most important to folks have been the east-west connection. So most of it has been on the other streets, Jackson and surrounding streets around near the garage. And we'll talk a bit more about it to make sure that there's clarity. But once imminent work has been done, then that's when it'll come back to council for a final vote. Lead-in. Houston First is, of course, is leading this project. The project manager is Walter P. Moore. They're currently in the surveying mode, and the objective there is to convert Leland into two-way traffic from Chartres to Louisiana to enhance the east-west connection. I want to just make sure that this is very clear, and happy to have this conversation as well. So this conversation is nothing new with Leland, east-west traffic. We also were having conversations about Commerce and Franklin, and quite frankly, as many streets. This was about 7 years ago. I'm very familiar with these conversations because I was in these meetings as well. The reason why is because at that point we knew that Polk was going to not be connected directly into downtown anymore. There was going to be initially a street closure. Senator Alvarado at that point helped host a meeting at the Cape Center. Some of y'all might have been there. And at that meeting, in conversation with TxDOT, we're able to create the detour that we are now going to be having with the NHHIP project. We were still trying to see how we can get east-west connection out on Leland, even then, on Commerce, on Franklin. And unfortunately, once that was agreed upon, Public Works was really not at the table anymore. They weren't having these conversations with us as much. And so, again, Leland, this is not something that was just put out of a hat because of what's going on. This is something that was discussed at least 6-7 years ago. Me personally, I would have continued doing this work, making sure that we had more east-west connection, because that's always been something critical coming from the east end. And so the Leland enhancements, I also want to make sure that folks know that this is fully funded and it's in the MOU. And we shared it with Amy and Lisa yesterday. They were at a meeting with me in my office. And we're happy to send it out to everyone. It's signed now. I know there were some comments about it's not even signed. Well, at council, we voted for the MOU. We still had to finish the signature process, and that was done a few weeks back. And so in that MOU, Houston First will be paying for Leland. Something that was not a part of their budget line item, something that I was making sure that we pushed, something that unfortunately 6 years ago was not going to happen. And it was not going to happen even up to the day that, where we're at, until we continue to make sure that we're advocating for you also. Right now what's happening is that we're creating a steering committee of folks that are Public Works, TERSs that are going to be doing other projects in that immediate area. For those that might not know, the East Downtown TERS, which is everything east of Chartres, and it kind of does a interesting slant towards 45. Yeah, and so that the phase 3 right now we're going through phase 2, and we just broke ground about a week or so ago. But phase 3 includes lead-in, and so for me it was important that the East Downtown TERS is sitting down in these conversations, so that way there's a seamless transportation route, but also anything else that we're looking at wanting to advocate for lead-in specifically. Once we are able to ensure that the folks that are doing the engineering, some of the other challenges that we're going to eventually have, about 60 streets in downtown will be mill overlaid over the next handful of months. My intention and my goal is to make sure that we start bringing lead-in conversations to you all early next year. So that way you can share what your thoughts are about what you'd like to see. Some of the challenges on lead-in currently are there's insufficient sidewalks, specifically in the East Downtown area. There is a bike lane on Polk. That bike lane on Polk, and we have somebody from TxDOT. I don't think that bike lane on Polk was going to continue to stay on Polk because of the reroute and the way they were going to be creating that detour.
That's something I've got to check on, Councilman.
Okay, so we'll have TxDOT check on it. But the goal is that lead-in, we continue to make sure that we have that access with the bike lane. And so once we, again, are able to sit down with everyone, we're hoping that early next year we can start having some public-facing meetings about lead-in specifically. Right now it's in the survey process. Engineering will happen. I am not an engineer by trade, but working out of the city, I understand some of this talk, and so those are some of the things that we have to initiate. And then once we're in the percentage as far as design, that's when we'll have some of those conversations with the community. I think there's a conversation about pedestrian and bicycle alternatives for connecting East Downtown. So Precinct 2, the East End Bike Plan, many of y'all participated in this almost a handful of years ago. The East End District has been focused on community engagement, identifying priority projects, bike facilities in the East End. And we can share some of these specific projects where it's sidewalk and trails, street light, traffic, some of this. These are all Precinct 2 projects, not just in the East End, but across the district. The ones that are in the East End are Central Street, somewhat in the East End. It's Central Street, Manchester area. These are Precinct 2 projects, by the way. Clinton Drive, which is north of the Bayou. Gilhorn Drive is more northeast. Oates Road, which is in the northeast. Some of the parks that are being looked at are around Edison Middle School, Port Houston, Golf Crest, which is in the southeast, Davila Elementary, which is in the East End, are all partnership projects through the Spark Parks program. Some of the things as far as when it comes to master planning, the East End Bike Plan, as I mentioned, the East End District is leading that with the support of Precinct 2. John R. Harris Park Master Plan. Some of y'all were probably at Milwaukee High School when we had some of the initial meetings. Those meetings, they have a master plan for J.R. Harris. If you're not familiar with J.R. Harris, it's on Lawndale and Broadway. We are still looking to see when we'll see any work done with that park. And then North Shore Community Plan. Grade separation. So HJC, their Railroad Grade Separation Initiative program was presented at TPC in August. Some of y'all, I hope, maybe know or not know, I don't know. But I'm an alternate at the TPC, which is the Transportation Policy Council. I am the alternate to Carolyn Shabazz. Thankfully, I get to sit in several of those meetings as an alternate. And so I'm really at the table to be able to advocate and push for some of these separation of grade projects. So this is a pilot program to 100% fund planning level feasibility studies for up to 10 crossing locations or small corridors. For those that have been here in the East End, we know that trains have always been an issue. And it's not just the quiet zones, which we'll talk about as well, but just the blocking of the streets. And I never fail to make sure that I recognize Eastwood Civic Association. So maybe about 10 years ago or more, we kept seeing block crossings that were up to about 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours at times. The office was advocating for Union Pacific to do more. The conversation that I had with some of the residents was, as we continue to dive more into, who regulates the trains, and it's the FRA, which is the Federal Railroad Administration, was to have more conversations with congressional leaders, right? And so, which again, until Eastwood started having more conversation with Congresswoman Garcia's office, did we start seeing opportunities where grade separation were really going to be coming to fruition, specifically the Commerce, York, and Sampson location. That was funded pretty much, goodness, it was at least a good 8 years or 5 years that it had some funding, but it was missing about $34 million, I want to say, and I might be off a little bit. But because of the funding source from the federal government, we closed that gap, and we're now able to see that grade separation. So I want to give a shout out to Congresswoman Garcia for that. The pilot run will be for 2 years under the 2026-2028 Union Pacific. I can't think of the rest of the acronym, but there's going to be work where we're going to continue to find out where some of these critical crossings need to be addressed when we were speaking to grade separation. So under the TERS 24 fiscal year budget, which we passed maybe about a month or so ago, one of the priorities, and I shared this with folks even back early this year, when we're looking at critical crossings. So one of the conversation was that Polk was a direct connection into downtown. And so it was a priority for me to identify ways where we can address Leland being a straight shot into downtown as well. And if you can kind of step back a bit more outside of the East End, there are projects for Telephone Road going all the way to 610. We have not funded, the Gulf East Church has not funded the rest of the Telephone Road project. They applied for a grant about 3 years ago. They weren't successful. They're going to continue to apply for that grant to see if we can have continuous infrastructure from downtown all the way to basically airport, which is in the Hobby area. Leland having railroad crossings was important for us to be able to identify how we can separate grade at that point. And so TERS 24, one of the requests that I made was that they do a study for grade separation at Leland Cullen. It's in their budget. We passed their budget this year. So a study is going to be worked on over the next couple, I would say the next year or so. These projects they don't happen overnight. And I just want to be very honest with you all. The Sampson York project and Commerce were in the books years before and this is work that was being done by several folks before the previous administrations. My goal as the city council member is to at least plant the seeds, right? I need to make sure that there's opportunities for grade separation at Leland. And so they're going to, it's in the budget. We are going to be having a study to look at grade separation. What that looks like, I cannot tell you right now. What you'd like to see, I'm sure it's going to be underpass. At the end of the day, we're going to have to, whenever that day comes, have tough conversations and figure out what's the best thing for mobility in the East End. So the Leland underpass proposed, the TIP 20% match was $1 million. The local match for the design for tunnel construction on Leland at the tracks was of Cullen to be shared with the Gulf Coast Rail District, which is a 50-50, to be funded through the TIP. So it's a $4 million total construction right at the moment. But again, these are preliminary numbers. Some of the things that we've seen in any construction project that over the last even 5 years, they've escalated because of supply chain and whatnot. So, but definitely wanted to make sure that y'all do know that we are looking at Leland as a being grade separated. The West Belt Railroad grade separation, which I mentioned a bit, Want to say again, shout out to Congresswoman Garcia. Those federal dollars are important. The city of Houston runs off of an ad valorem and sales tax. And quite frankly, we don't have enough money to do everything. And those dollars that you pay to the federal government and the state government should be coming back, and that's the goal that we're trying to do here locally. So per Public Works stakeholder design team wrapped up their meetings October 30th, finalizing preferred design options, which should be completed by February. The project is about 90% design. All proposed crossings are underpasses. The estimated budget is $142 million. Again, that's not all city money. It's not all local money. And so again, as that project continues and we share more progress, I just want y'all to know who's doing the work, because this is not done in a silo. So it's estimated to begin spring of 2029, and completion is winter of 2031. Quiet zones, and this is something that it'll be done. Yeah, we can complain as much as we want, but it's happening, thankfully. Quiet zones. The Eastern Quiet Zone 1 through 3, design work is underway with 2 consultant teams. By their next meeting in January, anticipated reaching 30% design, which will give us a clearer view of what the proposed treatments and project timeline will be. And we get calls for quiet zones a lot. I've taken several calls for quiet zones historically out of the office. Quiet zones aren't something that are easy to do. First and foremost, there's a process to it. Union Pacific has to also participate. There are some infrastructure changes that we need to make in order for it to be more difficult for cars to cross some of these at-grade crossings. But then the biggest expense is usually those gray boxes that are near the tracks, and updating all of the technology that goes with switching the lanes and so on. And so on average, and these are numbers, I don't know if they're the same, but on average they're about $500,000 for upgrade per intersection. So for those that have been talking to or calling the office for the Cullen Quiet Zone, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. I just want to be upfront and real. The Harrisburg line is what we've been really focused on, because that's been at least 15 years, at least. And so I appreciate advocating for quiet zones. Sometimes the cost and the time, quite frankly, I feel like we should be shifting our attention to grade separation. But I'm here to hear from you as well. If you want to advocate for a quiet zone, just know it's about 15 years on average. And so if you would like me to advocate for 15 years worth of work, let me know. But if we have a lot of momentum moving into grade separation right now, with Metro wanting to dedicate about $100 million, Senator Alvarado carrying a bill at the state for $250 million, and if we use these dollars, we can see more money in the next legislative session. That's where I want to focus my attention at the end of the day. And I think that's it for right now.
So we're going to take just a pause to ask some clarifying questions, but I do have 2 questions from the audience already. And the first one is, can council request that the city of Houston and mayor fill the MD Gulf Coast Rail District seat from Houston? 1.
Yes, we can. And I want to say we might have submitted a name already, if I'm not mistaken. But we have been advocating for several vacancies, whether there are the Gulf Coast Rail District, CHERS, management districts. And we'll continue. Actually, I just submitted somebody for the Houston Land Bank this week. And that one's been vacant for over 6 months at least. And so we'll continue. We have been advocating for the Gulf Coast Rail District vacancy to be filled.
Right. The second question from the audience is, Commerce Street is not being closed for Danny Perez at Textile. What changes are the city proposing?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Commerce Street is not being closed for Danny Perez at Textile. So what changes is the city proposing?
So what was being discussed initially was how can we get a 2-way into downtown with Commerce as well. There are gonna be construction, there's gonna be construction happening with the Commerce underpass. So we, you know, we're gonna have to see what that looks like. And I'll speak to the MOU in a bit, but part of what we wanna do is, and we solidified this in the MOU, was a mobility study for specifically East-West connection that the downtown district will be needing. And so we won't know what is available until we have those conversations.
All right, so now we can open up to people in the audience if you do have a question about any of the projects that we've talked about, clarifying timelines. Come up to the microphone. Y'all can come up to the microphone.
And we do have representatives from TechStop, other TechStop representatives here. Thank you, Raquel.
Is this questions only or comments as well?
You can do comments, but there's gonna be time for comments at the end too,
When the West Belt was announced in 2023, a couple members of council were here. They announced that it would start in 2025.
Yeah.
It was later moved to CIP 2027 and 2028, and now we're on 2029.
Yeah.
What assurances do we actually have that it starts in 2027?
So I just shared with y'all where we are when it comes to design. That is more of an assurance. The design pause, and let me just let everybody know, every project paused when the new administration came. Every project. That was one of the kind of things that just, quite frankly, paused a lot of projects in the Gulf Gate tours, Harrisburg tours, East Downtown, and my goal.
Administration, the Trump administration or the Whitmer?
The local administration, yeah. And so, you know, my goal was to try and push these back on, right? For example, phase 2 in East Downtown, we're pretty much almost at 80% design, and we had to go back, and I think we ended up having to start from 40, right? And so that's some of the challenges. I think right now, if there's any projects that are moving forward in design, then those are your assurances. I don't think it's gonna have to go back to anybody else at this point. And I'll just be quite frank, there's CIP projects that fall off. For example, Broadway.
About the West Belt, that some may not
So we're gonna try to
So-
keep it to one.
So Broadway, for example, Broadway from at Milby High School from the tracks to 645 on or 610 or 45, that one fell off. That was on the CIP in 2015, 2014, and we still don't have funding for that.
Alright. Are there any other questions in the audience?
Hello. You said earlier that these projects don't happen overnight. Well, I agree. But the Polk Street closure, we were aware of it in February. And it's closed in November. For a generational project like that, that is a blink of an eye. So why can't we have good things happen instead of bad things overnight?
Why can't we have good things happen over bad things overnight? I'm not sure. I can't even answer that question for my kids, honestly. It's just, you know, things happen.
Because we do what's good for businesses and not for you.
Things happen, and you know, projects that we try to, you know, our projects are prioritized. There's, for example, I'll give you a quick example. The name change for Emancipation. It didn't follow the process. It's just a example of a project. There's a process. That one ultimately happened overnight, quickly with the vote of council as well. So things happen depending on the administration. That's my answer, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not satisfied with how something that will close us off happens really fast, and something that we need to replace it, the underpass at Leland is gonna take 15 years at least.
Hello.
Hello.
I noticed that you said over a couple times that the Polk Street closure is permanent. But I also know that council has to vote on it.
Yes.
So it will only be permanent if you choose for it. And your constituents do not want it closed. Houston First might want it closed, and you're on the board of that. But the people who live in your neighborhood do not want it closed. And the fact that you don't stand up for us, the mayor, when he's like, oh, those people are from out of town and they're getting paid, like, are you kidding me?
construction is being managed by 3 different entities. The City Public Works, Houston First, which is confusing to me, and then TechStop.
Right.
Who's coordinating this all? Because quite frankly, and I had this question in another meeting, there is no one place to go to figure out how to get around, how to even get out of the neighborhood. And I was told, well, if you go to this website, if you go to that website, there has to be, I mean, it's dangerous out there now. So I'd like to know where we're supposed to go to find out how to navigate our neighborhood.
So I'll kick it off, and then if Sally wants to come up and provide some support as well. So I've had those conversations for months. Right now, I'm pushing Houston First to have a platform, which they have created the platform. It does become difficult, and we have TechStop that is here. There's times that we're waiting on what closures are going to happen. If I can finish, what closures are going to happen, and we need that information from TechStop specifically. I will tell you, somebody that drives into downtown from the East End, majority of the detours and closures are TechStop. If not, almost all of them. Except Polk, right? So 1 out of like 8, 9, 10 closures are TechStop. And so the goal, and I just had this conversation today, is how can we, the city, 1 second if you don't mind, Michael. The city, traffic plans are submitted to the city, but I'll be quite frank. When I was leaving down Jefferson a few weeks back and I found it closed, they caught me off guard as well. So I'm hoping that we can get more information as well, as quickly as possible. We've had some challenges, and I'll be quite blunt. East Downtown was having some challenges as well that were from TechStop. So sidewalks and stuff of that sort that were, so, and I'm not trying to throw TechStop under the bus, right? But I do want to be very transparent in the conversation that everybody's having. The more information that we can get from TechStop, the more we can, and the quicker we can get it from TechStop, the easier we can make sure that that information is forward facing to you all. Right now, if it has to do with the expansion, that information is accessible right now. And then once Public Works starts moving on the 60th Street Mill Overlay, Public Works will be able to have that information as quickly as possible. So, Sally, if you want to add more, and then Mike has.
We'll let Mike have a couple of minutes, and then we'll take one more question before.
Joaquin basically covered it, but I had a meeting with Michael Heckman and the Houston First team today about their budget. There'll be a meeting at my Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee that I chair on Tuesday, and we'll be going over the Houston First annual budget. I also told him we're going to have a presentation on the financing and expenditures thus far on the GRB expansion, so that's Tuesday at 10. And I brought up, because I thought it was a really reasonable request, that we have one place to go. It's really embarrassing to tell constituents to go to 5 different websites. And so Heckman did say just what Joaquin said, that they have developed or are developing a platform. It's going to be up to TechStop to jump into that. I mean, TechStop's going to have to participate, Public Works is going to have to put the information in. But it's an absolutely reasonable request, and he agreed, and that's going to get done.
And that was done because of the conversations that my office has been having with Houston First, knowing that the disruptions are coming, not just on Polk, quite frankly, throughout every east-west connection into downtown.
Let me just make one other comment to that respect, though, that in the meantime, things don't happen quickly. Some signs. I mean, just like, okay, let me just say one other thing. So there's signs that say, okay, exit Gray. There is a stop sign. The light has been out for months, and now you're getting all this traffic exiting there, and there's a stop sign, and it is a disaster. So anyhow, better job, and stopgap measures, because again, things take a long time.
No, it does, and so we're trying to do, I think at one point, Ian had brought up that you have signage coming into downtown for pedestrians and cyclists, but you can have it going out. And I had that conversation the next day, and there's signage now exiting downtown into the East End for cyclists and pedestrians. So I'm gonna do whatever I can with the capacity that I have, but I think it's also important, as I was giving praises to Congresswoman Garcia every other elected official, there's levels of government that I would hope, the same way that we couldn't do anything with Union Pacific and the FRA, that you all could have those conversations as well.
So, just to stay on time, I did promise Mike, but we're going to give you 30 seconds.
No, that's fine.
So.
My name is Mike Zentek. I work with Philadelphia Public Relations. We do outreach for Tech on behalf of TechStop for the I-45 North Houston Highway Improvement Project. All our closures are TxDOT.gov/NHHIP. We certainly welcome the opportunity to put everything into one place, because right now there are three, as we've mentioned. There are our closures in the East End, there are Houston First closures in the East End, and the East Downtown TERS is also one doing the work at Polk and Education. They want to improve some streets before the World Cup. So yeah, we certainly welcome anything that can make it easier for folks to get information. We definitely welcome that. But again, all our closures, the construction updates page, TxDOT.gov/NHHIP.
We'll send that out afterwards. Richard, you want to go ahead and take?
Yeah, I can keep it high and tight. First, I want to say thank you, Joaquin, for being here in person. I really appreciate your presence and not just your staff. Sally, I really appreciate that being shared. Where my frustration is and what my ultimate question to me is, what's it going to take? So these are questions that were brought up in February, followed again in March, and spread out over the entire time we went to council. Why is it that we are finding ourselves now in December, and as a community, we still don't have a master timeline for how all of these projects cascade? This is not a small work, this is not a surprise. FIFA is coming, and our neighborhood's only getting more complicated. With the drainage of NHHIP, with all of these streets shutting down, it's easy to point to say, most of these are TxDOT, we know that, but you, being a city council official, are in charge of Houston First. As a resident, we have nothing to engage with Houston First because they have not taken our meetings to answer these questions. And so we need somebody who's in an elected position, like yourself or Sally, outside of just council, to then turn around and put pressure on Michael Heckman to answer the residents, because they are an extension of the local government. And so my question to you and Sally is, what's it gonna take? Because we shouldn't have to demand this over the course of 8 months, especially with you coming from the East End, to understand how uniquely Houston this is with the trains and the streets.
Yeah. So to answer that,
We do need to keep on time because we're already starting to run behind.
to that, all Houston First updates, I did share with you a timeline now about where we are. And I will make sure that they continue to give us those timelines and updates. And if you want a Houston First just immediate update, I think you have that already. The other stuff that you're speaking to, yes, I'm an elected official, but I'm not the only elected official. And I think it's incumbent upon other folks to speak to TxDOT as well, not just myself and my team, to make sure that those other disruptions, majority of the disruptions, if not almost all of them, are being fed to you as well, right?
Joaquin, with respect,
I'm not doing that.
Y'all, we're not gonna heckle and scream out from the crowd.
Be respectful at the end of the day, because I'm gonna be respectful to you as well.
So let's just go ahead and move on to the MOU. If you want to go ahead and walk through what that is, and understanding the route and from the MOU versus the CBA. In the meantime, we're gonna walk around with index cards. And so if there's any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, go ahead and write them down, because if we don't get them now, we'll follow up after.
Okay, so now in the MOU, and I know folks think that the MOU is, has nothing to do with the CBA. I'm gonna stand here and tell you that with conviction, that the spirit of the CBA is in the MOU. And I've said that in public. I will say that to you again today. I've had a meeting with both Amy and Lisa yesterday, said the same thing. If you read through the MOU, you read through the CBA, we've actually done more in the MOU. And what I have been able to get a signature from all these parties, the parties that are on this MOU, on a CBA. No. 1 second. I'm not.
I think a lot of people here don't know what the CPA is.
Okay.
Yes, that's true.
The CPA was something that the people from Polk brought to my attention months back. It's a community benefits agreement. So what is it that the community is going to benefit from this? The MOU that I my team, literally in a week and a half, and we were pressing and pressing the administration, Houston First. There was some conversation with my colleagues. Was literally almost every day, and some of them late, and then even to the last hours back and forth to ensure that the community was going to have some benefits from what you have submitted to me at the meetings that I had with folks months back. Some of the things that I want to just kind of lift up in this MOU. So it is a memorandum of understanding with Public Works, Houston First, and the City of Houston. And that's my office is taking the lead on that. It's my responsibility. My team and I will ensure that we're following through with this MOU. And that's where I think the responsibility falls. I can't depend on anyone else. I know we have at-large council members. I know we have some neighboring district council members, but this is something that it's on my plate, and it's my responsibility to walk through this with you all. So some of the things that are that I want to highlight, I guess I can just read the bullets so that way you know, since you don't have them in front of you. The first one is to determine the scope of area to be studied and organizations to be involved in the engagement activities. Establish and maintain ongoing public communication in Spanish and English during construction of the GRB. Establish effective communication methods to provide updates related to the construction, road closure, and commuter reroutes. Collaborate with the neighborhood organizations, other government entities in downtown Houston to identify mobility and connectivity alternatives in the area and identify funding options for the same. Evaluate and implement how to ensure safe pedestrian access on Polk Street for a year post-closure, which we are currently doing now. Make new public spaces, including the plaza of the GRB, available free of charge after completion for use by local community-focused nonprofits, organizations 6 days per year. As to those dates, those dates must be requested by the city or requested through the city. This is something similar that we did with the Houston Botanic Garden and Gus Wortham. We want to ensure that community have access to these public green spaces, and so I want to make sure that there's opportunities for, and it's not going to happen. This cat party is not happening in the next couple of years, but when it does come to fruition, the thought process is that community will have access to this as well. Establish a 13-member community advisory board appointed by council member of District I, District H, and District D, composed of the area community stakeholders and residents from the east side of downtown to help inform the planning and implementation of the new proposed east side, the Cat Park, entryway, and associated plazas for the George R. Brown and other public spaces planned as part of the east side entryway. Such advisory board shall hold at least a quarterly meeting with participation by representatives of Houston First, commencing 2 years prior to the anticipated date of the completion of design. Completion of design, it's a process. You have conceptual drawings, you'll have opportunities to be a part of it. You heard me say 90% design, there's 60% design, there's 30% design. So 2 years before it's even completed, the intention is to make sure that community are involved in this process. It's important that we, and I say we, but really me, because this is something that my team and I were very instrumental in putting together, pushing, advocating for, that you all do. You see that this is what I would like in every project at the end of the day. We can talk about Polk and what happened. That caught everybody off guard, including myself. And so I worked with what I had at that point to ensure that there were still some things that we could get out of that project. The last bullet is work with the appropriate transportation authorities and community stakeholders to develop, finance, and implement a plan to evaluate the best utilization for Leland as a thoroughfare, including possibilities of a two-way or reversible Law Street. As tough as it is in this current local administration, my goal is to make sure that we have something there that allows for pedestrian or cyclists, and of course, vehicular traffic that is safe as well. What we see currently on Bagby, essentially, is something that I'm gonna be advocating for. Will we see that ultimately? I'm not sure yet. But a lot of the work that I've been doing for 2 years, whether you've seen it or not, whether you agree with me or not, has been to establish relationships on all fronts, whether we agree with whoever or not, to ensure that I can still get wins. I come from a mindset, and I'll just be quite blunt, fighting. There's a time for that. But there's also a time for finding solutions and moving forward and seeing wins. And as Richard pointed out, as an Easton resident for decades, there's been a lot of times that we've never seen some of the things that are happening in this district, in this side of town. And I appreciate the community that is here. And as I've spoken before, and I know it's been twisted and bent up there's a community that is not here. And I would hope that everybody here can acknowledge that as well. Because as we think about what we want in this room, my hope is that we can step back a little bit and think about that neighbor that doesn't come out of their house that you don't talk to maybe, and figure out what other projects would they like to see as well. And that's my goal at the end of the day, is to have more projects in the East End, in the Hobby area, and in the northeast part of District I that have been needed for a long time. Infrastructure projects, deferred maintenance for decades. So my goal is that we see a two-way lead-in. We see multiple two-ways in and out of downtown. And as long as I'm in this position, I will continue to advocate for that. But I can only advocate for that, and I know that there's folks that say, well, I'm a professional, our profession is this, and I'm this. I'd like to say that my profession is being in this position and doing the work and negotiating when I need to, and advocating where I need to, and supporting where I need to ultimately see the win that I think most folks in the neighborhood want to see. And so I didn't wake up overnight and say I want to run for this position. I worked for John Castillo, District 9 Councilmember, as an intern. I realized 20 plus years ago that I wanted to run for this position, not knowing when exactly I was going to run for this position. And now I'm here, and I feel like I'm very capable of being able to do the things that Joe would like to see. I'm not going to be able to do everything, because I'm not going to promise you everything, but I am going to advocate for this part of town that I love just as much as you all do, whether I live in it or not, because I still have connections here as well, whether it's my kids going to school or playing Little League baseball and whatnot. So
to pause here, I did get some questions that are about projects. I'm going to hold on these for right now. We'll come back to them at the end. If not, we will follow up on them, I promise you, okay? So the one that I think is about the cat park, which I know there's been conversations about that in terms of the MOU. The cat park should be a public space as opposed to Gus Wortham and Botanic Garden that are leased by those operators for the city. Please confirm or clarify that the cat park is envisioned as one of the public space like Discovery Green.
So I would say that is the ultimate goal, similar to Discovery Green. Can Discovery Green take on this task? They don't know. It's currently not in their plans to try and take care of. Some of y'all were probably seeing stuff about scooters, and Discovery Green was paying about $100,000 to replace the grass when scooters and UTVs were tearing up the grass. They're a nonprofit. That's how they run the organization, similar to the Houston Golf Association, similar to Houston Botanic Garden. My goal, and I will stand firm on this, is that it needs to be a public entity, and it's not going to be a zoo or a botanic garden or a Gus Wortham.
Alright, so are there any clarifying questions about the MOU? So please come up to the microphone. I'm gonna time y'all because we are now running a little bit behind, so we'll make sure we get everybody out on time.
All right, I'm Roy Hurst.
Yes.
Thank you, Joaquin, for being
Sir.
here. My main question about the MOU is, what assurance do we have that the MOU will be a legally binding commitment by all parties and won't be summarily dismissed like past CBAs have been?
So I want to say CBAs aren't even legally, most of them aren't legally binding as well. So this is, I want to say honestly, it has the Public Works signature on here, mine and Michael. This MOU, the commitment is a memorandum of understanding that we will follow through with this.
Okay, good.
City legal looked through this. They've agreed that we can work within these parameters, city legal. So that gives me assurances that the city of Houston, the legal department has already put their eyes on it, and the city of Houston can work through this MOU.
Okay, well, I'm just curious about what mechanism is in place.
Right, so we're gonna try to, I'm sorry, we're gonna.
Am I running past your time?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
Roy.
have 1 minute, right?
Yes.
So I just want to restate the question. Is it legally
No.
enforceable?
No.
No.
But the CBA was not gonna be legally enforceable either.
So residents have no legal.
Okay, y'all, hang on, if y'all
I
have
thought
questions.
that ION CBA was enforceable. It's up to the city to take legal action, but again, they don't.
If there are any questions about the MOU, you can come up to the microphone, or we're happy to pass out cards. And there is gonna, just a reminder, there is gonna be public comment at the end as well. If you wanna hang out, Councilmember,
Yeah.
you're welcome to, but thank you so much for being here and sharing updates. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So if y'all have any index cards that you have written a question on, I'm gonna send Clay out there to come get them. So if you have any, you can put them up in the air and he will come get them. If you need another, we can always walk around with more. So People for Polk is going to come up and do a quick presentation on some opportunities for forward implementation on the MOU.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Hunt, and I've been part of People for Polk from its inception. People for Polk got organized after February 1st. The signs went up to let us know that Polk Street was going to be closed. We always saw this group as an advocacy group in the East End community. And I want to take this opportunity to thank those of you who have been part of our efforts coming down to City Council, calling or writing our City Council members and mayor, and for participating in the joint referral committee. So, benchmark of our effectiveness is the joint referral committee is the process by which the city engages to close alleyways and streets. It's not really designed to evaluate a thoroughfare like Polk Street, and so a typical number of responses would be 2 or 3. Through your efforts, we had over 230 responses registering our concerns about Polk Street, and I think that's just an illustration of the power of what we can do together. The CBA, the Community Benefits Agreement, was the fruit of work that we did together in individual meetings, in a town hall meeting like this, to be able to say what's important to us as a community. Communication and knowledge of what was unfolding with the plans, coming to know that there was no master plan for Houston First, the expansion of George R. Brown was something that we discovered. We didn't understand how Houston First operated, and so through this process, we've become more educated citizens and realizing that our access to the decisions that Houston First makes are extremely limited. And so our connectivity with our council members is so crucial, as is our work with the mayor. To close a city street, which is our property, it's a public asset, surveys have to be done, appraisals have to be done, utility work and emergency vehicular access to communities has to be evaluated, and it requires 2 votes. One vote has already happened, the second vote is pending, as the council member noted. I think that it's important to note also that the appraised value is the value of the streets, and there are multiple streets that are getting closed, and that represents major assets socially that we, as people for Polk, have thought it's reasonable for us to get money back out of Houston First and this development for a public asset that we are losing. So that was part of our conversation around the community benefits agreement. We also pushed for a 2-way Leland as an alternative. And I know that the council member had also advocated for that, and that's important. We also have been working on the notion that TxDOT needed to be at the table, and that we expect greater coordination between these governmental entities. We don't need to be caught in silos, but we need to be working together, because we don't live in silos, we live together. And so the commitment to planning and signage and timelines were all really critical, and those values got incorporated into the MOU. The vote to abandon the streets will happen probably in the early part of July, and Downtown Houston Plus has been identified as the organization to do public engagement. So far, the efforts have been focused principally downtown, and so the connection with the East End, those of us who are living over here, is tenuous at best, and so I think that's something that we're going to need to be working on. And this community advisory board is going to be crucial. There's not a process yet in place for how the composition of that will be made, the vetting process, and who will be having access to those appointments. So that's something else that we want to bring to your attention, and that was part of what we insisted on in the community benefits agreement. The TERS and the management districts are really critical for development and are important sources of funding for our neighborhood, but they don't necessarily include residents. And throughout this process, we've realized that if we're not at the table, we're on the table, and that's the way it feels. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Amy Dinn at this point to talk about how we can further enhance the implementation of this MOU.
Okay, great. You can hear me. I just can't hear myself. That's great. It's all good. Well, thank y'all. I want to say thank y'all all for being here. I mean, this is just great to have this room full of people that are all like-minded and care about being able to get into downtown. And I think that's the continuing question, right? That every day we drive in and our route is changing rapidly due to street closures, and we need to have an understanding of that. And one of the main things that people for Polk wanted was a comprehensive mobility study, and we need to continue to push for this because we are going to have this is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, part of the TxDOT project is for the Pierce Elevated to be dismantled. Goodbye, no more. And that is our primary east-west connector. And so while I know our focus has been on Polk Street, the big east-west connector is going to disappear. And we are going to be left with no east-west connectivity to get to the other side of Houston unless you go through every single stoplight on downtown. We need to know that that's our reality, and we need to be planning today to increase those transportation opportunities through downtown and make corridors so that we have equal access to our city. And that's really what's at stake. And I know it's hard, we're really focused on Polk right now, but there is a bigger game plan in the next 20 years that it is going to make it really challenging to be on the side of downtown, and it's going to continue to be a challenge. So, not to doom and gloom, but I think push for mobility studies whenever we can. When these funding opportunities come available, we need to ask for them. We need to have full integration with railroads, and these were the things that we were focused on in the CDA, getting really clear specifics, because people who worked on these things are all very engaged, just like you are. And this is the input that we got from the community, and we said, this is the level of detail we need because we are not getting enough answers, right, on how this whole program is supposed to lay out. So we want to continue beyond converting Leland to a two-way to ask for additional east-west connections throughout downtown. And that is also an opportunity with TxDOT. So TxDOT has ongoing meetings. I think they've got some more meetings coming up on segment 3. Go to those meetings. Tell them that you need more options within the transportation corridor. They have not completed all of their designs around segment 3. It is still ongoing, and they are still revising their plans as they get public input. That's the whole point of those meetings. You can help make small differences on pedestrian access, on sidewalks, on connectivity, and we need to continue to push and make sure that that project works for us as well as it does for everyone else. So I would just encourage you to take those opportunities. Downtown Plus, we have learned through the MOU, is going to lead the community engagement rollout about the whole Polk transition and the GRB expansion, and do the public engagement that maybe was missing at the outset of this process. That is an awesome opportunity to get involved, to see how all of this is going to unfold, and be there and be present and share your concerns, your ideas and recommendations. So as you start to hear about Downtown Plus holding meetings about pet parks and GRB expansion, go share your ideas. That's how we are going to help make a difference and continue these efforts. We had a lot of recommendations about connectivity, all about bike trails and how we can get around railroads. All of those things are still very important, and we still need to keep pushing all of those things at all these different types of meetings that we go to. So continue to do that. And then I think the biggest thing, I guess for me as someone that commutes downtown, and maybe for everyone in the room, because I was hearing frustration from several people, is how do we go to work today? And this communication nightmare that we have with detour signs that just go up overnight and then detour us into a street that's closed, or a stop sign instead of a stoplight, and just really uncertainty, right, with our daily commute that we've been going on for years. So I think trying to work on pushing people to improve those communication processes so it's very clear, so we can have signages before you get to the road closure that this street is closed today. There is no reason why TxDOT can't help put some of those things up on I-45, right, as we're coming in, or 59 as we're coming in. This exit is closed. You know, these streets downtown are closed today. You know, not just on a website, but in a way that someone that's driving in that day, that whether they come in every day or, you know, or just coming in from the airport, the Uber driver knows that those streets are closed and I'm gonna have to reroute. Because Google Maps is not keeping up with TxDOT either, I'll just tell you that. You're depending on Google Maps. So those are some ideas. And then really trying to also continue this community engagement, keep showing up. Y'all, it makes a difference. It really does. Going down to council, I don't think we would have even gotten this MOU if we hadn't shown up as many times as we did. And I know it feels less than we deserve, and it is, because we deserve millions and millions more to mitigate the damage that's being done from some of this. And I'm hoping that at the end of the day, when all of this gets built in, 15 years, we are able to share in all the benefits too, but we really have to continue to push for mitigation against all of these things that are just kind of happening to us, and get into a place where we've done forward planning, right? So we're not reacting, but we have a mobility plan, and we understand how East Downtown is gonna look for over the next 20 years. And then we're in a proactive driver's seat when we're coming into downtown and not being told to detour around. That's where we want to be. So I hope you stay with us. I hope that this has been informative. I'm going to turn it back over. There's a ton of time for now, y'all, to give us your input, which is really what we want to hear. And I think the other idea is that we're going to be taking a lot of the information that we get tonight, the comments, and we're going to try to use that in our next phase of engagement with council as the vote comes up, making sure if there are opportunities to get more through this process, if we have any leverage still in the process, get more for our community. And so we want to hear what you want to see, right? So we've laid out some ideas, some options where we're still falling short, but you may have some other gaps that you're seeing in the process that we would love to include in the habits. And I said the word habits. Okay, everybody, so now we're going to get into the fun parts. I hope you all have fully charged phones. Mostly charged in order to take part in an activity. So as part of this process, we're going to do polling, and it's going to be through your phone. So you're going to scan this QR code, and it's going to take you directly to the poll. If you are uncomfortable with going this route and you would rather have a paper poll, I've got a paper one for you if you want to go that route. Or if your phone is in. Or if your phone is in. Please, here's some pens. Okay. So, is everybody ready to? Oh, we're passing out some paper forms. So as those are coming out, go ahead and scan your QR code. Is there anybody still waiting to scan and get into the survey? I promise y'all, this is super fun if you've never done this before. Alright, so while we're going, let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, what zip code do you live in? This should show up on your phone. So if you're on your phone, you should be able to see and type it in. Woo! Alright, so we're seeing lots of 023, 003. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, 011, we know that one. That's in the East End too. Look at that. And yes, you should be able to react to it down at the bottom. I know some people like to press that button over and over. We still have a couple more to go. Someone's having fun with the like button. I appreciate that you like it. All right, cool. So this, to me, just shows that the majority of the people in this room are from the East End, which is fantastic. That's what we want to see, right? All right. Tell us about you. Are you a resident, business stakeholder, or are you a part of a transportation group? Uh-oh.
Can you read out the code for people who are?
Oh, yes. It is, if you go to menti.com, you're going to use the code 4985 1989. Oh, cool. So yeah, we are seeing mostly residents that are here. It's fantastic. Perfect. I have a couple more to go. Looks like we have 34 participants and 29 have responded. I think we had 29 last time. There might be some ghost people here. All right, cool. How long have you lived in the neighborhood you live now? Cool. So this is super fun. I love seeing that there's a mix, right? You see some people who've lived here more than 20 years. We got some newcomers. This is fantastic. This is what we want to see. The more diverse the voices, the better. Got one more group set. There we go. There's that 29th person. All right. So, is this your first time coming to one of my super neighborhood events? I'm curious.
Like if we sing you in the front of the room.
Me in the front of the room. So we have some newcomers too. Yes, and if you haven't had a chance to come meet me, I promise I will talk your ear off about trains all day long. All right, so it looks like we have a pretty good representation here between regular super neighborhood participants and our new folk. So, as Councilmember presented and then as he talked about, are you satisfied with the MOU as presented? And I'm not sure is a perfectly acceptable response. So with this, I might send out, I'm going to send out a thank you email, but I will probably ask a little bit more about this, and we'll make it anonymous, just so that we can gather this information. So now that the Georgia Brown expansion and Polk Street closure have moved from concept to reality, where are the gaps in implementation? You should get a little word cloud, similar to the zip codes.
We only get one more.
I think you can put in more than one.
You can submit more than one. So if you have 15 different words you want to put here, let's do it. And if you see a word that just resonates with you, type it in so we can make it bigger. Because we're gonna summarize this for council. Although I do like to show us the money. That's pretty fun. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna ask who put that, but that is funny. Makes me think of Bill Jared McGuire, right? Community engagement, communication, connection, lots of good responses here. So I hope the folks from various offices are appreciating this. We had a lot of fun putting it together. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next question because we have 29 responses. Oh my goodness, y'all are going to town.
Well, they can't get there.
Oh my goodness. All right, okay, for real. All right, so you should have all of these options on your phone. So what you probably want to do is you'll want to tap them all and then you prioritize them. Most important to least important. With the loss of Polk Street, what kinds of projects should be prioritized in the area to offset the loss of our critical streets?
Number one. Surprise.
It's not a surprise to me. Oh. Separation. I regularly poll the community to gather feedback and grade separations. Frame blockages and noise is always at the top. All right, are there anybody else still putting in their priorities? Looks like we have a couple more left. Really liking it. I appreciate that. All right, we're going to move to the next question. The Georgia Brown is $2 billion, is funded by the hot taxes, which is hotel and restaurant taxes. What % of those hot tax revenues should come back to projects to offset the harm from losing Polk Street? And this is going to be over like 25 years. We're not talking all at once here. That would be amazing. It's just not realistic to get 25% of $2 billion in 1 year, right? So it's going to be spread out over 25 years. Almost there. There's a couple people left here. If y'all can tell, I have a little number, I have a little count how many people have logged in versus how many people are submitting. All right, we are going to move, so it looks like more than 20% is the answer. Hey, look, this is your feedback, we're just gonna take it back, That's fine. So then the next one would be 10%, followed by 20%, 15%, and then 5%. All right, so next question. How important are these traits for choosing residents to serve on a community board for the MOU's implementation? So similar to before, if you want to tap all of them and then put them in the order that you want to see in terms of most important to least important, and then submit at the bottom so we can take that back to our city leaders. I'm just facilitating.
Hey, start off.
Well, this is great. That's your starting point. Alright, so it looks like there's a heavy emphasis on civic and super neighborhood representation, combination of residents and business owners, subject matter expertise, multimodal transportation users, and then tenure in the neighborhood. Looks like we have just a couple more people that are still submitting, so we'll let them finish. Just a reminder, we do have this on paper, so if you just reached your end of it, I hear you. Sometimes I don't want to look at my phone. I got paper too. Cool. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question. What is the most effective way to communicate about ongoing road closures? I think this is gonna help Councilmember Alcorn significantly.
Yeah, I think it's just, we're gonna prioritize something based on what's helpful to least helpful. That's fine.
Good detour signs, next dot.
Yeah, we see you over there, Text Dot.
Yeah, I see that too.
All right, it looks like everybody's done on this one, so thank you very much. How beneficial is a two-way leland solution to you as presented? I'd like more information. No, I mean, it's fair. I mean, if you don't know, you're not sure. Let's find out what it is. Okay, all right, looks like we are reached the end there, although I'm a little upset that I only have 4 likes on this page and not 13. All right, are you concerned about your property values with the ongoing construction? All very fair. Almost there. All right. So we're going to move on to the next question. After Councilmember Castillo's response to community input, the 419 Emancipation Project updated. Do these changes address your concerns about the project? And just to summarize, some of y'all know what this is and some of you do not. I'm not going to make you raise your hands. It's okay. So the 419 Emancipation is creating a super hub for the unhoused, which they will be able to route the unhoused to and then get them into situations that are hopefully in a better position. Councilmember Castillo, these proposals have been committed to by the city, which is an on-site HPD homeless outreach team with 8 officers, 1 sergeant who's permanently stationed at 419 Emancipation. The expanded civility ordinance through Magnolia Park and south to Capitol Street, ongoing community dialogue with community through the task force with residents. So there's going to be a task force with residents and stakeholders. I'll be able to have several meetings throughout the year, and then a community day tour for residents and stakeholders. And the 2 requested that the administration has not yet committed to, but they are continuing to push, is phased occupancy approach. So that means maybe not start at 100% capacity, maybe start with 10% and see how it goes. And then traffic coordination mitigation, having Metro PD and fares inspectors on the green line. So those last 2 have not been committed to. These are all fair, very fair. Perfect. Should have one more, so there might be one more person out there. All right, e-scooters. How would you adjust the curfew? And I am taking this to Councilmember, I see Rodrigo over there. I did ask what question he wanted me to put, just because I wanted to make sure we pull this in here. Just give it a second. I think there's one more answer in there. So it looks like most of the people in this room are saying that they do not want to see a curfew for e-scooters. Some say adjust the time. So it looks like those two are the winners here. So what would you like to see the super neighborhood address or advocate for in the coming year? We personally have big plans, but we want to make sure we hear from you on this. I should have played my music this whole time. Yeah.
I just meant it's like a weird looking beat.
Yeah, can you heard about our music playing?
I could have. Otherwise, we would just have Taylor Swift just blasting while y'all run around. All right, so we see train blockages and noise, grocery stores. That's cool. I didn't expect that, but that's great. Heavy trash and solid waste backlog, beautification projects, public safety, traffic enforcement, public safety, so gun violence, theft and violent crimes, loose dogs, and animal control. If you did put in other, I'm gonna have you put in some more information for me. We want to make sure we include that. We should have one more response, but so we do have, we originally planned for 10 minutes. We'll start with 5 and we'll see how everybody is, but we wanted to go ahead and open it up to public comment. If you have a comment, was this helpful? You just want to talk about anything that's on your mind, anything you want us to advocate for, now is the time.
I have a comment. I think it's ridiculous that residents should have to be the ones weaving together the coordination on this communication and working across elected jurisdictions. I expect our politicians to work together and make that happen. It should not be on us.
Are there any other elected officials still here besides Councilwoman Hawthorne?
We have Christina Morales' office here. We have at-large one, Julian Ramirez's office still here. Looks like that's it.
I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of what's been done and the mistakes or the problems that have been caused. What I find particularly egregious and just awful is the incompetence in the way that the traffic has been rerouted and the signs. If it's intentional, has a big screwed you to residents, that's awful. If it's unintentional incompetence, that's almost even worse. It shows complete disdain for us as citizens. The way that your signage forces us to just figure out what the hell's going on. There's one street going through downtown. For blocks, the sign says,